The fleet had returned to a stable orbit near the edge of the sector, but Commander Lyra's mind was still racing. The cosmic entity, while not completely gone, had retreated for now. Its unpredictable energy pulses had been navigated successfully, thanks to Captain Elias Kane's guidance. For the first time, Lyra understood that the legends about humans were not exaggerations. They were glimpses of an extraordinary truth. Lyra stood on the observation deck of the Aurelius, staring at the swirling colors of space. Stars shimmered in the distance, yet her attention was fixed on the memory of the entity's energy pulses. Every pulse had been a challenge, every maneuver a test of instinct and courage, and through it all Kane had remained calm, precise, and inventive. "Commander," Lieutenant Corrin said softly, approaching her side. "I never thought I would see a human perform like this. It's remarkable. I had dismissed the stories, but now I understand." "Kane is extraordinary," Lyra nodded slowly. "Not just extraordinary, Corrin. Humans are different. They see problems not only as challenges, but as opportunities. They act when others hesitate. Their strength is not in technology or training alone. It is in their minds, their courage, their ability to adapt." Kane's voice interrupted their conversation as he joined them on the deck. "Commander, the fleet is ready for debrief. We need to analyze the data, understand the entity's behavior, and prepare for any future encounters. The cosmic force may return and we must be ready." Lyra turned to him, meeting his gaze. "Captain Kane, I have seen your leadership, your courage, and your ingenuity. You have not only guided the fleet through the crisis, but you have also taught us lessons we could never have learned from books or simulations. Humans are not myths. You have proven that." Kane's eyes softened with humility. "Thank you, Commander. I only did what any human would do in the same situation. But I must say, the Zefari fleet's discipline and precision were essential. We could not have succeeded without your guidance and the cooperation of your officers." Lyra smiled faintly. "Perhaps it is the combination of our strengths, your creativity and courage, our technology and discipline, that makes survival possible. Maybe legends exist not to be feared, but to remind us of potential we have yet to recognize." The debriefing began in the council chamber. Kane shared his observations, explaining how the entity's energy pulses followed subtle patterns, how they could use its own fluctuations to navigate safely, and how the Zefari officer's precision complemented his strategies. Officers listened intently, recording every detail, asking questions, and beginning to understand a new way of thinking. Admiral Varys spoke first. "Captain Kane, your approach is unconventional, yet it worked flawlessly. I see now that humans possess qualities we have long underestimated. Creativity, adaptability, and courage. These traits allowed our fleet to survive where technology alone would have failed." Kane nodded. "Thank you, Admiral. But it is not about being unconventional. It is about being observant, thinking ahead, and trusting your instincts. Technology is important, but it cannot replace imagination, courage, or teamwork." Lyra observed quietly as the officers discussed, realizing that Kane had not only saved her fleet, but had also transformed their perspective. Humans had been dismissed as myths, yet here was proof that they were capable of extraordinary things. After the meeting, Lyra requested a private conversation with Kane. They stood together in the observation deck, overlooking the calm expanse of stars. The tension and adrenaline of the crisis had faded, leaving only reflection and understanding. "Captain Kane," Lyra began, "I admit I misjudged your species. I believed humans were legends, incapable of surviving in the challenges of space. Yet you have proven that humans possess qualities beyond imagination: courage, creativity, adaptability. These are strengths no Zefari doctrine can teach. You have changed my understanding of what is possible." Kane smiled humbly. "Thank you, Commander. I am honored. But the truth is, every species has unique strengths. Zefari discipline and precision are incredible assets. Humans alone cannot face everything. Together we are stronger." Lyra considered his words carefully. "Perhaps this is the lesson we needed. Humans are not myths. They are partners capable of standing alongside us. And perhaps in the vastness of the galaxy, we are stronger when we learn from one another rather than rely solely on our own methods." Kane nodded. "Exactly. Cooperation, observation, courage, and adaptability. These are the qualities that can ensure survival in the unknown." The stars outside seemed to reflect her thoughts, shimmering with possibilities. Lyra realized that legends were not just stories to inspire awe. They were reminders of what could be achieved when courage, creativity, and determination came together. And now, one human had proven that the stories were true. Over the next few days, Kane worked closely with Zephyr officers, training them to combine their precise methods with human intuition. Officers learned to adapt quickly, make decisions based on observation and instinct, and trust their own judgment when unexpected challenges arose. The fleet became stronger, more flexible, and more capable than ever before. Lyra observed the transformation with pride. The human captain had not only guided them through danger, but had also reshaped their understanding of strategy, leadership, and problem-solving. Kane had proven that the strength of humans lay not in brute force or technology, but in intelligence, creativity, and courage. One evening, as the fleet prepared to return to their home sector, Lyra stood with Kane on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before them, silent witnesses to the challenges they had faced and the lessons they had learned. "Captain Kane," she said, her voice thoughtful, "I now understand why humans were revered in stories, not because they are stronger or faster, but because they face the unknown with courage and imagination. That is a power in itself." Kane looked at her with quiet appreciation. Legends exist because someone achieved something extraordinary. Sometimes they inspire others to see what is possible. I am glad that humans could help your fleet, and I am honored to work alongside the Zephyr. Together we can face challenges that neither of us could face alone. Lyra smiled. I believe this is the beginning of a new chapter. Humans are no longer myths, they are allies capable of extraordinary deeds. And perhaps in time our cooperation will become the new legend for the galaxy to remember. The calm of space settled around them, but Lyra felt a spark of excitement. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, full of challenges yet to come. Yet for the first time she felt a sense of confidence. With humans by her side, and lessons learned from their courage and ingenuity, the Zephyr fleet could face whatever the universe sent their way. As the fleet set course for home, Kane looked out at the stars. He reflected on the journey, the dangers they had faced, and the lessons shared. Humans were known for overcoming impossible odds, not through sheer power, but through intelligence, creativity, and determination. And now, the galaxy had witnessed those qualities in action. Lyra remained beside him, silent for a moment, watching the stars. "Captain Kane," she said finally, "thank you. You have shown me that legends can be real, that courage and creativity can triumph over uncertainty, that humanity is more than stories. They are a reminder of what is possible when we dare to act." Kane smiled gently. "Thank you, Commander. And I have learned from the Zephyr as well. Discipline, precision, and cooperation are equally vital. Together, our strengths create something far greater than either species alone." The stars continued to shine, distant and eternal. But within the hearts of the Zephyr and the humans alike, a new legend was forming, a story not of myths but of courage, partnership, and the limitless possibilities of ingenuity. In that moment, Commander Lyra understood fully. Humans were not merely tales to inspire awe. They were real, capable, and essential. And one human captain had proven, beyond doubt, that when courage, creativity, and determination meet opportunity, legends can walk among us not as myths, but as living, breathing proof of potential. And so, in the vast expanse of space, a new chapter began, not just for the Zephyr, not just for humans, but for a galaxy that had witnessed the extraordinary. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as if honoring the courage of one human who had dared to stand before the unknown and guide others to safety. Commander Lyra turned to Kane once more, feeling a sense of peace and hope. The galaxy was wide and full of mysteries, but with humans and Zephyr standing together, there was no challenge too great, no obstacle too insurmountable. Legends had walked among them, and now they were no longer myths. They were reality. And in that reality, the galaxy had found a new kind of strength, one born of courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to face the unknown together. The stars ahead shimmered with strange colors, and Commander Lyra felt a tension unlike anything she had experienced before. The cosmic entity was near, and its presence made sensors flicker and readings shift unpredictably. Captain Elias Kane's fleet advanced cautiously, every officer aware that a single mistake could be catastrophic. Yet Kane's calm, confident demeanor steadied the entire group. "Commander Lyra," Kane said over the comm link, "we are entering the outer perimeter of the anomaly. Stay focused. Observe patterns, but do not rely on technology alone. We must act with intuition as well as precision." Lyra nodded. She had learned to trust Kane's judgment through the simulations and reconnaissance missions. Still, seeing the anomaly in reality was far more intimidating. The entity radiated energy in immense pulses, waves of light and gravitational distortions spreading across the void. Even the largest safari ships had to adjust their shields constantly to survive the unpredictable fluctuations. Lieutenant Corrin looked at Kane. "Captain, our energy readings show instability in the surrounding systems. Conventional weaponry will not work. Even our shields may fail if the fluctuations increase. How do you propose we proceed?" Kane examined the holographic map projected before him. The entity's path was irregular, shifting in ways no standard algorithm could predict. Yet, beneath the chaos, he discerned subtle rhythms, patterns invisible to strict computation but apparent to intuition. "We will use the anomaly's own energy cycles to our advantage," Kane explained. "We can navigate through its bursts, redirect energy toward propulsion, and remain one step ahead. The key is timing, observation, and teamwork. We act together not just as machines or individuals, but as a coordinated, adaptable force." Lyra watched closely as Kane issued commands. The Zafari ships, initially rigid in their formations, began to move fluidly, adapting to sudden surges of energy and gravitational shifts. Kane's instructions were clear, but they required improvisation, the very quality the Zafari had always considered dangerous. As the fleet advanced, a sudden spike of energy erupted from the entity, larger than any previous fluctuation. Alarms blared throughout the ships, warning of potential system failures. The Zafari officers instinctively prepared for retreat, but Kane remained calm. "Divert auxiliary power to stabilize the shields," he instructed. "Engage propulsion to the upper vectors. Synchronize movements with my mark. Trust the pattern, trust your instincts, and trust each other." The fleet followed his commands, weaving through the energy burst like a school of fish moving through a stormy sea. Systems trembled under the pressure, but Kane's timing was perfect. The energy wave passed, leaving the fleet intact. Lieutenant Myra, who had initially doubted human capabilities, whispered in awe, "I cannot believe this is working." His intuition. "It's guiding us safely where protocols would have failed." Kane continued to guide the fleet closer. The entity loomed larger in their sensors, its energy pulses now creating visible ripples across space itself. Its size and power were beyond comprehension. Zafari ships had never faced anything like this. Every maneuver required precision, timing, and creativity. Suddenly, one of the larger Zephyri cruisers, piloted by Admiral Varys, became trapped in a gravitational distortion. The ship's automated systems could not correct the trajectory. Panic rippled through the crew as alarms screamed. "Captain Kane," Admiral Varys called over the comm, "we cannot escape. The distortion will pull us into the entity's core." Kane responded without hesitation. "Admiral, observe and follow my instructions exactly. Fire the retro thrusters at 10-second intervals, while adjusting shield polarity to compensate for gravitational flux. Synchronize your corrections with the energy pulses. I will guide you step by step." Minutes passed, each second feeling like an eternity. Kane's voice remained calm and precise, giving instructions with clarity and confidence. Slowly, the cruiser adjusted its path, using the entity's own energy surges to slingshot back to safer space. The fleet collectively exhaled. Even the most experienced Zafari officers were amazed that a single human could guide them safely through such a dangerous encounter. Lyra felt a mixture of pride and humility. Kane had proven that humans were capable of extraordinary feats, not through raw power or advanced technology, but through observation, ingenuity, and courage. The legends were true. Humans could achieve what seemed impossible, yet the crisis was far from over. The entity continued to pulse unpredictably, its energy waves growing stronger. A sudden shock wave knocked smaller ships off course, and even the largest vessels struggled to maintain position. Zafari technology alone was insufficient to stabilize the fleet. Kane quickly assessed the situation. "We will use the entity's pulses to create a rhythm," he instructed. "Align shields and engines with the cycle. Move as one unit. Anticipate the next wave rather than react to it. Timing is everything. The Zafari officers executed his instructions, their confidence growing with each successful maneuver. Kane's presence had transformed the fleet from a collection of disciplined ships into a coordinated, adaptive team capable of surviving in conditions that had seemed insurmountable. Hours passed, and the fleet approached the entity's core trajectory. Energy waves intensified, distorting the very fabric of space around them. The cosmic force seemed alive, responding to their movements, testing their limits. "Captain Kane," Lyra said through the comm, "we are nearing the edge of our operational range. Sensors are failing intermittently. One misstep could be disastrous. What do you propose?" Kane studied the readings carefully. "We rely on intuition more than sensors now. Observe the entity, predict its cycles, and trust the rhythm. Move with it, not against it. Communication is critical. Relay every observation. We act as one mind, one fleet." Lyra realized that this approach was unlike anything she had ever commanded. The Zafari relied on strict rules, precise calculations, and predictable outcomes. Kane's method relied on courage, observation, and creativity, human qualities that no technology could replicate. As the fleet moved in synchrony with Kane's guidance, the entity's pulses began to stabilize in response to their actions. The cosmic force, immense and unpredictable, was being navigated successfully. The Zafari officers, once skeptical, now trusted Kane implicitly. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the fleet emerged from the most dangerous zone. The entity receded slightly, and the immediate threat diminished. Ships that had faltered or nearly been lost were intact, their crews unharmed. Kane had not only guided them through the crisis, but had taught them to adapt and survive under extreme conditions. Lyra breathed a deep sigh of relief. She had witnessed firsthand the strength of a human warrior, a being she had once dismissed as a myth. Kane's courage, intuition, and leadership had turned the tide of a crisis that technology and protocol alone could not have overcome. "Captain Kane," she said when he returned to the Aurelius, "you have exceeded every expectation. You have proven that humans are not myths. You have shown courage, intelligence, and leadership that surpasses what our fleet has relied on for centuries. You have changed my understanding of what is possible." Kane nodded humbly. "I do not act alone, Commander. Every officer, every ship contributed. The fleet's adaptability and cooperation made success possible. Humans have strengths, yes, but the Zafari's precision and discipline are equally vital. Together we can overcome challenges that neither species could face alone." Lyra looked at him, seeing not just a human, but a symbol of possibility, a reminder that legends could be real, and that courage and creativity could change the course of history. "Prepare the fleet for return to base," Lyra instructed. "We will review data, analyze outcomes, and plan our next moves. But know this, Captain Kane. You have proven that humans are not only real but essential to facing the challenges of this galaxy." Kane smiled faintly. "Thank you, Commander. I am honored to serve alongside the Zafari. Together, we will face whatever comes next." As the fleet turned to return to safer space, Lyra remained on the observation deck staring at the distant stars. She realized that the galaxy was full of unknowns, challenges beyond imagination, and that the key to survival was not only technology but courage, creativity, and the willingness to act when the unexpected arose. For the first time in her career, she considered the legends of humanity not as myths but as truth, and at the heart of that truth was one human, standing with calm courage, proving that even in the vast emptiness of space, bravery and ingenuity could light a path forward. The crisis had passed, but the lessons remained. Humans were no longer stories told to inspire children. They were real, capable, and perhaps the hope for countless worlds facing the unknown. And somewhere in the galaxy, Commander Lyra knew that this was only the beginning. The human-led fleet moved cautiously through the outer edges of the sector. Commander Lyra watched from the observation deck of the Aurelius, her eyes fixed on the data streaming from the reconnaissance ships. Captain Elias Kane was at the forefront, guiding the fleet with a steady hand and a sharp mind. Every decision he made was precise yet creative, blending instinct with careful observation. The cosmic entity remained unseen, but its presence was undeniable. Energy readings fluctuated unpredictably, and the gravitational distortions caused small anomalies in the ship's navigation. Zafari sensors, designed for precision and pattern recognition, struggled to predict the disturbances. But Kane adapted instantly, issuing commands that relied on human intuition rather than rigid protocol. "Adjust your trajectory 5 degrees to starboard," Kane instructed, his voice calm and clear. "The fluctuation will subside in 3 minutes. Maintain formation but be ready to adapt to sudden changes." Lieutenant Corrin hesitated. "Captain, the sensors indicate that this maneuver may place us closer to the anomaly." "It seems risky." Kane's eyes met Corrin's with quiet determination. "Risk is unavoidable. What matters is understanding and managing it. Trust your instincts in the fleet. The unexpected can be turned into opportunity." Reluctantly, Corrin followed the instructions, adjusting his ship's course. As they did, a sudden burst of energy surged from the anomaly, and many of the fleet's automated systems faltered. Zafari officers held their breath, expecting disaster. Yet Kane remained steady, guiding the ships with an intuition that seemed almost instinctive. "Divert auxiliary power to shields, but keep engines on minimum thrust. Follow my path," he instructed. "We will use the entity's energy fluctuations to propel ourselves forward safely." The fleet moved exactly as Kane predicted. The energy surge passed around them, leaving the ships unharmed. The Zephyri officers were astonished. Their training had not prepared them for such improvisation, yet it had worked flawlessly. Commander Lyra felt a mix of admiration and disbelief. She had always valued discipline and precise execution, but Kane's approach demonstrated qualities that no protocol could teach: observation, adaptability, and a fearless willingness to act when faced with the unknown. As the fleet continued, Kane guided them closer to the core of the anomaly's path. He used unconventional maneuvers, zigzagging around energy bursts and gravitational waves, often placing the fleet in positions that seemed illogical to the Zafari. Yet each time, the results were successful. One of the young Zafari officers, Lieutenant Myra, whispered to her colleague, "How can one human anticipate these patterns? Our simulations never predicted this." Her colleague shook his head. "I do not know, but he is proving that humans may not be myths after all." Kane's calm leadership also inspired cooperation among the Zafari crew. Where disagreements arose, he mediated without imposing authority, encouraging officers to share their observations and suggestions. The Zephyri, accustomed to strict command chains, found this approach unusual but effective. The team began to think more creatively, combining Zafari precision with human adaptability. Hours passed, and the fleet approached the entity's core trajectory. The energy readings intensified, casting the surrounding space in shifting hues of blue and gold. The anomaly pulsed like a living thing, vast and incomprehensible. Even the most experienced Zafari officers were awed by its sheer scale and power. "Commander Lyra," Kane said through the communication channel, "we are at the edge of the entity's path. Observation is critical. Do not engage recklessly. We must understand its patterns before attempting any maneuvers closer." Lyra nodded, her heart racing. She had placed the fleet's safety in Kane's hands, relying on a human she had once considered a myth, yet every decision he made had proven sound. There was a growing respect in her mind, a realization that humans possessed qualities the Zafari had long undervalued: courage, creativity, and the ability to act decisively under pressure. Suddenly, a massive wave of energy erupted from the anomaly, stretching across several light years. Automated systems across the fleet began to falter, alarms blaring throughout the ships. Zephyri officers were trained to respond with precise protocols, but the situation required immediate improvisation. Kane's voice cut through the chaos. "All ships brace for directional shift. Use the energy surge to slingshot around the anomaly. Timing is critical. Execute on my mark now." The fleet followed his instructions, moving in ways that defied traditional Zafari logic. The ships twisted, accelerated, and rotated in perfect synchrony, guided by Kane's precise calculations and quick thinking. The energy wave passed, leaving the fleet unscathed. A cheer erupted from some of the younger officers, though Lyra remained composed. She was processing what she had just witnessed. A human had led her fleet safely through a phenomenon that would have overwhelmed any traditional strategy. For the first time, she questioned the foundations of Zephyri doctrine. Kane continued, analyzing the entity's behavior. "Notice the fluctuations," he said, pointing to the displays. "It has a rhythm, though subtle. If we synchronize our movements with its cycles, we can navigate closer without triggering dangerous reactions. Observation and adaptation will keep us safe." Over the next several hours, Kane guided the fleet through a series of complex maneuvers, teaching the Zafari officers to anticipate changes and adapt quickly. Each successful navigation reinforced the lesson that courage and intelligence, when combined with careful observation, could overcome challenges that technology alone could not solve. Lieutenant Corrin approached Kane cautiously. "Captain, your methods are unconventional. Yet they are effective. How did humans develop such instinctive problem-solving?" Kane smiled. "Humans face challenges constantly. From childhood we learn to adapt, to improvise, to find solutions when rules fail. We survive not because we are the strongest, but because we are persistent, creative, and willing to take calculated risks. Our strengths lie in our minds and hearts, not just our machines." Lyra overheard the conversation and felt a mixture of awe and humility. For centuries, the Zafari had believed their discipline, technology, and structure were enough to survive anything. Kane's actions demonstrated that these qualities, while important, were not the only path to success. Courage, creativity, and adaptability mattered just as much. The day ended with the fleet safely returning to a secure orbit. Kane's strategies had not only kept them alive, but had also taught the Zephyri valuable lessons about observation, intuition, and collaboration. Officers were inspired, eager to learn more from the human captain. Lyra summoned Kane to the observation deck. The stars outside shimmered with quiet beauty, indifferent to the small fleet navigating among them. She regarded Kane with a newfound respect. "Captain Kane," she began, "I admit I misjudged humans. I thought your kind was myth, incapable of facing challenges beyond simple survival. Yet today you have proven otherwise. Your creativity, courage, and decisiveness surpass what I expected. Humans may indeed have qualities we have underestimated for centuries." Kane nodded humbly. "Thank you, Commander. I am not here to claim superiority, only to offer cooperation. Humans have strengths, yes, but we also learn from others. Together we can face challenges that neither species could overcome alone." Lyra considered this carefully. She had always valued knowledge and discipline, yet she could see now that rigid rules alone could not ensure survival. The galaxy was unpredictable, full of threats beyond comprehension. Humans, with their unique blend of courage, creativity, and adaptability, could complement the Zephyri perfectly. "Very well," Lyra said finally. "Prepare for the next phase of our mission. You will lead a specialized team to approach the entity more closely. Your strategies will be crucial. I want you to plan every move carefully and teach the Zafari officers to think beyond protocol. If this mission succeeds, it may change the way our fleet operates forever." Kane's eyes lit with quiet determination. "Understood, Commander. We will succeed together." As the human captain left to prepare his team, Lyra remained at the observation deck staring at the stars. For the first time, she felt a sense of excitement about the unknown. Humans were no longer myths, they were real, capable, and perhaps the key to facing the challenges ahead. In the vast darkness of space, a new alliance was forming, built not on fear or legend, but on trust, ingenuity, and the courage to face the unknown together. And at the heart of it, one human captain was about to prove that the stories of old had only scratched the surface of what humanity could achieve. The challenge had begun, and the galaxy would watch as myth became reality. The council chamber of the Aurelius was a vast circular hall bathed in soft blue light, with holographic displays floating mid-air. Maps of star systems, fleet positions, and galactic anomalies flickered in three-dimensional clarity. Zafari officers, tall and disciplined, gathered in perfect order, their expressions serious. Commander Lyra led Captain Elias Kane to the center of the room, where he would have a chance to present his case. Kane's calm presence contrasted sharply with the tension in the chamber. He walked with confidence, his movements precise yet unpretentious. Every eye followed him, some curious, some skeptical. To many Zafari, humans were tales of exaggeration, stories meant to frighten or inspire. None had ever met one in reality. Kane's arrival challenged centuries of belief. "Commander Lyra," Kane began, addressing the room with steady clarity. "I am here because the threat approaching this sector is unlike anything I have seen. It is a cosmic entity, not sentient in the way we understand life, but it consumes energy, matter, and all forms of technology. Entire star systems vanish in its wake." A murmur spread through the chamber. Zephyri officers exchanged uneasy glances. Technology, their greatest strength, had always been enough to defend against natural threats. But a being or force capable of neutralizing their advanced systems, that idea was unsettling. Lieutenant Corrin stepped forward, skepticism evident in his tone. Captain Kane, with respect, how can a single human comprehend a cosmic phenomenon that has eluded the greatest minds of our civilization? Kane smiled faintly, not arrogantly, but with quiet assurance. I do not claim to fully comprehend it. What I offer are strategies based on observation, prediction, and adaptive response. Where technology alone fails, creativity and human intuition can fill the gap. That is how humans have survived in extreme situations for thousands of years. I am here to apply that approach for your fleet. Lyra felt a ripple of intrigue. She had dismissed humans as myths, incapable of facing challenges beyond their homeworlds. Yet Kane spoke with the confidence of someone who had faced impossible odds and prevailed. She gestured for him to continue. Kane moved to the holographic map. With swift gestures, he manipulated the display, zooming in on the sectors affected by the approaching entity. Stars flickered and faded in the projection, showing systems already consumed. The Zephyri officers gasped, some unconsciously taking a step back from the display. The entity travels unpredictably, Kane explained. It does not follow standard gravitational paths, nor does it appear influenced by conventional forces. Its movement is erratic but not random. Patterns emerge when observed over time, patterns that can be used to predict its next approach. A senior officer, Admiral Varys, raised a concern. Even if your predictions are accurate, how can a human withstand exposure near such a phenomenon? Our shields fail under extreme energy fluctuations. One miscalculation and the human is lost. Kane nodded. I understand your concern. I am not suggesting reckless exposure. My strategies rely on careful positioning, using both Zephyri technology and human adaptability. Where your fleet can maintain structure and order, humans can improvise. We complement each other. Lyra studied him. His confidence was not boastful. It was practical, grounded in experience. She realized that humans had qualities the Zephyri lacked: intuition, creativity, and the courage to act when rules seemed rigid. Very well, Lyra said. You will accompany a reconnaissance team. I want you to demonstrate these strategies in a controlled exercise before we face the entity directly. If your approach proves effective, I will consider broader collaboration. Kane nodded and turned toward the team assembled for the exercise. It was composed of elite Zephyri pilots, technicians, and strategists, each trained to follow protocols strictly. Kane looked at each of them, meeting their eyes with steady calm. Follow my lead, he said simply. Observe, adapt, and communicate. Success depends on teamwork and flexibility, not only technology. The Zephyri team exchanged uncertain glances. This was unusual. They were accustomed to strict orders and predictable outcomes. Kane's instructions implied improvisation, a concept foreign to their training. Yet there was no hesitation in his tone, only clarity and quiet authority. The exercise began. The team entered a simulated asteroid field, with virtual hazards representing unpredictable cosmic phenomena. The Zephyri officers followed standard protocols, their ships moving in precise formations. Kane's human instincts, however, led him to deviate slightly, weaving through obstacles in unconventional patterns. When a simulation hazard threatened to trap the fleet, Kane quickly calculated an alternative route, communicating it clearly and calmly. The Zephyri ships adjusted. They watched in astonishment as Kane guided them safely through the simulated danger. Where rigid protocol would have failed, human intuition had succeeded. Impressive, Lieutenant Corrin admitted quietly, though he struggled to hide his surprise. I did not expect that outcome. Kane smiled faintly. I do not claim perfection. I rely on observation, adaptation, and teamwork. That is how humans face challenges, by staying alert, improvising, and using resources creatively. Strength is not only in technology, it is in how you think and act under pressure, Lyra observed quietly. Feeling a mixture of pride and caution, she had always valued efficiency and discipline above all. But Kane's approach was different. It was fluid, dynamic, and effective. She realized that humans might not only survive in extreme conditions, they could thrive. The exercise ended successfully, and the Zephyri team returned to the Aurelius. Kane's calm demeanor remained unchanged, but the officers were visibly inspired. They had witnessed firsthand the potential of human ingenuity. Lyra called Kane aside. Your approach is unconventional. It challenges our traditions, our training, our beliefs. Yet it is effective. Tell me, Captain Kane, how do you maintain such confidence when facing the unknown? Kane looked thoughtful. Confidence comes from preparation, observation, and trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your team, and trust that even when the situation is unpredictable, there is always a solution if you are willing to seek it. Humans are not the strongest, but we are persistent. We improvise, we endure. That is our strength. Lyra nodded slowly. She had dismissed humans as myths for centuries, yet she could not ignore the evidence before her. This one human had demonstrated qualities that surpassed her expectations. Courage, creativity, and resilience. Traits she had never seen fully realized in the disciplined Zephyri. Very well, Captain Kane, she said. Prepare for a direct encounter with the entity. I will allow you to lead a small fleet in a reconnaissance mission. You will have access to our sensors and communications. Prove to me that humans are more than stories. Kane bowed his head slightly in acknowledgement. I will do my best, Commander. Together, we can face this challenge. As he prepared for the mission, Lyra felt a sense of anticipation she had not experienced in years. For the first time, she considered the possibility that humans were not merely myths. Perhaps they were a key to surviving the dangers lurking in the stars. Hours later, Kane's team boarded their ships, a mix of Zephyri technology and human adaptation. Lyra watched as they launched, a small fleet against the vast darkness beyond. The simulation had proven Kane's methods, but the reality of encountering the cosmic entity was another matter entirely. The human captain took the lead, guiding the fleet with precision and ingenuity. He adjusted formations on the fly, anticipating dangers the Zephyri sensors had overlooked. Asteroids, energy fluctuations, and gravitational anomalies were no longer obstacles. They became challenges to navigate creatively. As the fleet approached the entity's predicted path, Kane paused. Commander, the real test begins here. We must observe carefully, act quickly, and trust our instincts. Technology alone will not suffice. Lyra clenched her fists, a mixture of fear and excitement surging through her. She had seen the humans' methods succeed in simulations, but facing a real cosmic threat was different. Yet she trusted Kane, or at least she wanted to. Perhaps this human was the proof she had been seeking all along. Humans were not myths. They were capable of extraordinary things. The stars ahead shimmered strangely, as if aware of the approaching fleet. The cosmic entity was near, its presence a silent, overwhelming force. And in that moment, Lyra realized that she was about to witness a human legend in action, not as a story told through centuries, but in real life, standing right in front of her. The arrival of the myth had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Commander Lyra stood on the high command bridge of the Zephyri flagship Aurelius, gazing out at the endless expanse of stars. From this vantage point, she could see the gleaming fleets of the Zephyri Armada spread across the Andromeda Belt, like a glittering web of power. Every ship hummed with energy, every crew member was trained to perfection. And yet, Lyra felt a strange emptiness, a whisper in her mind that unsettled her calm certainty. For centuries, the Zephyri had heard stories of humans. These tales spoke of warriors who fought not with numbers or technology, but with courage, creativity, and determination. They were said to be unpredictable, capable of feats that no alien intelligence could foresee. Many claimed that humans had stopped cosmic catastrophes, toppled tyrants, and faced overwhelming odds without faltering. Lyra had always dismissed these accounts as myths. They were stories told by poets and dreamers, tales grown over centuries amplified by imagination. Humans, she believed, were weak compared to the disciplined, technologically superior Zephyri. She often shared her opinion during council meetings, her voice confident and unwavering. Humans are legends, not warriors, she would say. We rely on skill, planning, and unity. Emotions are a liability. Chaos is a risk. Humanity thrives on neither. Her officers, seasoned and loyal, nodded in agreement. They had trained for decades under Zephyri doctrine, where precision and predictability were the keys to survival. Lyra trusted them and they trusted her. And in this structured, orderly universe, there had never been reason to doubt themselves. Yet tonight, as she surveyed the dark void beyond the Andromeda Belt, something stirred uneasily in her thoughts. Her attention was drawn to a faint, irregular signal, blinking across the fleet's sensor network. At first she ignored it. Space was full of anomalies. Asteroid fields, rogue satellites, drifting wrecks of ships long gone. But as the blinking continued, growing steadier and more precise, curiosity outweighed her skepticism. "Commander," said Lieutenant Corrin, a sharp-eyed officer with a reputation for accuracy, "we are receiving a structured signal of unknown origin. It appears to be a single vessel. It is moving directly toward our fleet, and its trajectory does not match any known Zefari patterns." Lyra frowned, her lips pressed into a straight line. "Show me," she ordered, turning toward the main view screen. The monitor flickered to life, displaying a small, sleek craft moving confidently against the tides of space. Its hull was unremarkable, its design minimalist, almost fragile when compared to the armored, massive ships of the Zefari. Yet it moved as if it belonged, cutting through space with precision and speed. "It's alone," Corrin said, "and it shows no sign of defensive protocols. No energy shields, no weapon deployment. It should be destroyed instantly if it attempts to resist." Lyra tilted her head, studying the craft. Her instincts told her it posed no threat, but her mind was uneasy. Humans were supposed to be myths, incapable of interstellar travel without support, incapable of surviving hostile environments, and yet here it was, a single vessel approaching the heart of the Zefari fleet. "Send a hail," Lyra commanded. "Identify the vessel. Offer peaceful communication. I want to know who dares approach the Zefari armada alone." The communication channel opened, and the voice of the pilot filled the bridge. It was calm, clear, and unafraid. "This is Captain Elias Kane of the human ship Odyssey. I request immediate audience with the commander of the Zefari fleet." The words were simple, but they carried authority. Lyra felt a ripple of surprise. Humans were supposed to be legends, yet here was one, standing in the void with confidence that rivaled any Zefari officer. "Captain Kane," she responded cautiously, "your vessel is unregistered." "State your intentions." "My mission is urgent," Kane replied. "I come with information of a cosmic threat. It endangers multiple star systems. I request permission to meet your commander directly." "This is not a battle mission. I seek cooperation." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Cooperation? You expect the Zefari fleet to trust a human myth?" There was a pause on the line, then Kane's calm, even voice returned. "You will judge my intentions when you see the facts. I ask only for the opportunity to speak." For the first time, Lyra felt a flicker of uncertainty. Her hands rested on the control panel, tension coiling in her chest. The Zefari were trained to trust evidence and strategy, but never had they faced someone who seemed so ordinary yet so unafraid. "Very well," she said finally. "Prepare a docking protocol. You will meet me aboard the flagship. All Zefari forces are to maintain alert, but hold fire unless provoked." Minutes later, Kane's human vessel docked seamlessly with the Aurelius. Lyra waited in the grand conference chamber, a room of polished metal and soft glowing panels. The chamber was vast, its ceilings high, and its walls lined with holographic displays detailing centuries of Zefari history and victories. When Kane entered, he did so calmly, without weapons or guards. He was young, maybe in his early 30s, with a lean build and sharp, intelligent eyes. His clothing was simple, a dark uniform without adornment. And yet every step he took exuded confidence. Lyra rose to meet him, her posture erect, her gaze steady. She was used to commanding respect, to seeing awe in those who approached her, but Kane did not flinch, did not bow, did not show any deference. He simply looked at her with a calm, unwavering expression. "You are Commander Lyra," he said quietly. "Without ceremony, I have heard of your reputation. I hope to earn your trust in the coming hours." Lyra inclined her head slightly, remaining silent. Trust was earned, not given. Kane continued. "The threat I bring news of is not one that can be defeated by force alone. It is a cosmic entity, consuming matter, energy, and life. Entire systems vanish within its path. I have followed its trajectory and determined that your fleet may encounter it soon. I offer strategies and collaboration." Lyra felt a twinge of disbelief. "A cosmic entity? You expect me to believe this after dismissing humans as myths for centuries?" Kane's eyes did not waver. "I do not expect belief, Commander. I expect action. Facts do not require faith. Observation does." Lyra studied him for a long moment. There was something in his presence, a quiet strength, a calm determination, a spark of courage that unsettled her. She had never seen this in any Zefari warrior, no matter how skilled or disciplined. Humans, she reminded herself, were myths, legends, stories to inspire children and caution young cadets. They could not survive in space unaided, let alone confront cosmic phenomena. And yet Kane stood there unarmed, unprotected, and completely composed. His confidence alone suggested he could handle challenges beyond the imagination of even the most experienced Zafari officers. "Very well, Captain Kane," Lyra said finally. "You will accompany me to the Strategic Council. I will allow you to present your data. But be warned, deception will not be tolerated. If I discover that your story is false, there will be consequences." "I understand," Kane replied simply. As they walked toward the council chamber, Lyra couldn't shake a growing curiosity. Could it be that humans were more than myths? Could they actually possess a strength, a courage, and an ingenuity that rivaled her most disciplined warriors? Her mind swirled with doubt and anticipation. The stars outside the Aurelius shimmered silently, indifferent to the tension aboard the flagship. Somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, the unknown waited, and for the first time in centuries, Lyra wondered if perhaps a legend, human or otherwise, might hold the key to survival. The meeting of myth and reality was about to begin, and Lyra felt for the first time the stirring of a challenge she could not dismiss.